Welcome to Hello Talk English Pod.
Welcome to Hello Talk English Pod.
Welcome to this lesson of Hello Talk. I'm Clem.
Hey, I'm Yumi.
In this lesson, we're looking at the book To Kill a Mockingbird. Let's have a listen to our introduction. To Kill a Mockingbird is an American classic written by Harper Lee and a staple read found on the reading lists of middle schools and high schools in the U.S. Based on real events, the novel is set in the fictitious town of Macomb, Alabama, during the period of the Great Depression in the 1930s. This is a coming-of-age story about a young girl, but the novel is also a dark drama about the roots and consequences of racism and prejudice in the American South, shedding light on how good and evil coexist within a single community or individual. So we just heard the introduction describe To Kill a Mockingbird as a staple read. So if something is a staple, it means it is necessary or important. You know, it's something that is pretty basic to be found on any kind of list. And in this case, we're talking about reading lists. What other kinds of staples can you think of, Yumi?
For example, I've heard people say, what are the staple items in your kitchen pantry? Right? And it might be different for everyone. For me, the staple items, meaning the necessary items I would keep, would be, bread, pasta, some fruit, water, these kinds of things.
Good example.
They go on to explain that the novel is set in the fictitious town of Macomb, Alabama. So we saw this word fictitious in a previous lesson, but just to remind you, when something is fictitious, it means that it's not based on something real. This is a made-up story or place.
Mm-hmm. It's created for the scenario or situation.
Right.
The sentence goes on to tell us that it was set during the Great Depression. And the Great Depression was a period of time where there was an economic crisis, and it happened in the fall of 1929. And so this whole period lasted during the 30s. So it was a long period where there was this economic crisis.
Right. And this was actually a worldwide, crisis. So it really affected a lot of countries and people in the world.
Yeah, people were going hungry. There weren't enough jobs and basically money or supplies for people anywhere.
Yeah. They go on to explain that this is a coming-of-age story about a young girl. Coming of age, these kinds of stories are about a transition from childhood into adulthood. So this is oftentimes a genre for many books or even films.
It continues and says, the novel is also a dark drama about the roots and consequences of racism and prejudice in the American South. So racism is a pretty strong, powerful word, and it kind of is the belief that differences in various, human racial groups determine one's ability or their achievement. And usually it has to do with bringing one group of people up, usually your own if you're talking about racism, and then putting another group of people down. It usually occurs and happens, with minority groups, which can be, various things.
Yes, exactly. And when you talk about the word prejudice, as they mention here, prejudice is having an opinion that's not based on any reason or actual experience. So usually these two words go hand in hand because you're judging someone based on their race or on the belief that your race is superior to theirs or that theirs is inferior. And this is having a prejudice against different kinds of people.
Yeah, one of my college professors, they're prejudiced in terms of, people's backgrounds. So if somebody was female from New York and Jewish, then in his class they could do no wrong. So he would automatically be more positive and give them higher marks and grades versus, anybody else. If he was still, he'd talk to everybody else and he'd, there, but he would mostly call on and listen to, the voices and opinions of, Jewish females from New York.
That's interesting. I mean, generally, we want to treat everyone equally and not have any prejudice or obviously be racist against any group of people.
Yeah. Now, me personally, I'm prejudiced in terms of, where I'm from, Chicago. So suddenly if somebody is from Chicago or the movie or story is based or set in Chicago, I find myself becoming more interested because I'm like, oh, I'm from there, and I can immediately connect or relate in some kind of way. So I guess in that sense, maybe I'm similar to my college professor.
They go on to say that the story is shedding light on how good and evil coexist within a single community or individual. Now, the word shedding here just means it gives attention to.
Yeah, giving attention to, releasing or sending forth. So in this case, it's kind of releasing light. So shining a light. Think about a dark room. If you're trying to find something in a dark room and you have a flashlight, whatever the light is shining on is what you can see and what's exposed.
Right. It's giving attention to that item. Mm-hmm. And in this case, they're really showing how good and evil can coexist. And so the word coexist, this just means that things can exist together.
Yeah, together or, at the same time.
Right.
Okay, let's take a listen to our quotes. Quote 1. You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb inside of his skin and walk around in it. Quote 2. The one thing that doesn't abide by majority rule is a person's conscience. Quote 3. With him, life was routine. Without him, life was unbearable. So our second quote says, the one thing that doesn't abide by a majority rule is a person's conscience. So a conscience is just that inner sense of, what's right and wrong. The inner feeling of what you should be doing or shouldn't be doing. For those of you who have seen the Disney version of Pinocchio, there's that little small cricket called Jiminy Cricket, and that's Pinocchio's conscience. It kind of tells him, what he should be doing. Oh, you really should, do this or do that, and make sure you don't do those things. So, in there they have a song saying, always let your conscience be your guide. So listen to that inner voice, it says.
Right. You might hear people say that they have a guilty conscience sometimes, and this just means that they've done something or they feel guilt about something, and that inner feeling or voice is telling them that.
Yeah, it's letting them know, oh, maybe you shouldn't have done that.
Exactly.
Let's go through our summary. Summary. The theme of courage resonates with readers. Essentially, the novel teaches us that in spite of all the odds, one must show courage, especially when in a situation of defending the defenseless. One other aspect that captures readers' attention is that despite the cruel realities of the South, the novel does not hide the stark, dangerous, and deadly truth about being black in the U.S. So our summary begins by saying the theme of courage resonates with readers. So here when they use the word resonates, it means, connects, the ability to connect with, or the ability to have that deep understanding. So in this case, they're talking about having that connection with the readers. They might hear or see something where suddenly they know what they're talking about. They feel, what the characters are feeling.
Exactly. Some example might just be, my friend is telling me a story of something she went through, and I might really resonate with that because I've gone through something similar. So I understand how she's feeling and what she's gone through.
Yeah, good example.
They go on to say that one must show courage, especially when in a situation of defending the defenseless. So this phrase, defending the defenseless, let's first look at the word, defending. Defending is to protect someone or something from harm or danger. Mm-hmm. So when you're defending the defenseless, it means you're protecting someone who cannot protect themselves. So something or someone that can be considered defenseless could be, babies or children or, maybe some animals, right? They can't really protect themselves. So you will take the role of protecting them.
Our summary finishes by saying one other aspect that captures readers' attention is that despite the cruel realities of the South, the novel does not hide the stark, dangerous, and deadly truth about being black in the U.S. The first word we're going to look at in the sentence is captures, and that just means to catch, maybe to control or to take. In this case, they're catching, they're capturing the attention of the readers.
Yes, exactly. And when they go on to say stark, dangerous, and deadly truth, the word stark here just means severe or extreme. So in this case, they say it does not hide the stark, dangerous, and deadly truth. It means it doesn't hide the, extreme or harsh danger and truth of the situation.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We hope that you enjoyed this lesson on To Kill a Mockingbird. We'll see you next time.
See ya.